Hi, I'm Ronnie from AlkaViva, and we're going to install our new next-gen perfectly pure reverse osmosis today. I'm going to go through the parts that are going to come with it, and then I'm going to go through various different installation techniques that you can use to get this thing hooked up quick. All right, so first we have our RO with 2 filters in it. They are not set in yet. We're going to do that during the installation part, but this is exactly how it's going to look when you take it out of the box. In the accessory box, you're going to have the transformer and the plug to get power to the unit. You're going to have 3 sets of tubing, red, blue, and white. You're going to have a card with a QR code that you can scan, and that'll walk you through various installation tips as well. You're going to have this drain saddle, and inside there is a rubber piece. Please do not throw this out. You're going to need to stick this inside here, and I'll show you during the installation portion. You're going to have 3 connectors right here. You're going to have Teflon tape. You're going to have some blue clips that keep the tubes connected, keep them from popping out. You're going to have this supply diverter, which is going to send the water from your water supply over to the RO. You're going to have this cover that goes on the front. You're going to have this tool that takes off and on the quick connect fittings. You're going to have some Ziploc ties. That's the entire parts list to get this job done today. As far as tools go, you're going to need yourself a Phillips head screwdriver. It doesn't need to be long like this, it could be regular. You're going to need a drill with a 1/4 inch drill bit. You're going to need 2 wrenches. They don't have to be exactly like that, but they have to be 2 pliers. So when we're installing this guy here, we can hold on to the top and turn it. So you'll need 2 different pliers. You'll need a scissors. It should be a very sharp scissor only for cutting the tubing, or a utility knife, but only with a brand new sharp razor blade. And it's a good idea to have a flashlight on hand. We're back with the installation of the unit, and the first thing we're going to start with is these filters here. So you'll see they have a padding in the back. We're just going to take a razor blade and take off the outer covering. By the way, you'll be doing the same thing every year when you replace these. Slide the filter in. This goes sideways, and give it a good push and give it a tug. That's how you know it's solid in there. Same thing with the bottom filter. By the way, if any of you ever know anything about reverse osmosis, the membranes are usually tiny. Look how huge this thing is. It's a 1,000 gallon per day membrane. So we want to give it a good push. Make sure it does not come out. And at the end of the year, all you got to do is push that button and the filter will come out, and you'll push your new one in. That's how easy it is. All right, now let's look at the back. The back is going to come with 3 rubber plugs. Use your included tool, and you'll notice there's a collar, a white collar. You press that collar down and pull these plugs out. It is totally normal to see a tiny bit of water come out as these machines are pre-tested. So let's look at what we have here. Everything is labeled. This is the source water, so this is going to come from your cold water shutoff valve into here. This is your filtered water, so this blue line will go out to your ionizer, directly to your ionizer. This red line is for the water waste, okay? So this is going to be your drain water, and we'll show you how to hook this up to the drain. And then the very last connection is going to be the electrical connection. And so this unit will plug in just like this, and then you're all set. Okay? So that's the first part. Some of you might be wondering, can I install this on its side? And the answer is no. You'll notice there's rubber feet and a vent and a sensor down here. So it has to be installed upright. Okay? The next two things we're going to do is we're going to get our water supply set up. Now, I'm not going to go under the cabinet right now because it's too hard to see, so we'll do this on top of the cabinet. So underneath everyone's sink, you're going to have something like this. This is your cold water shutoff valve, and it's usually on the right side, and the hot is on the left. But just to make sure, turn this thing off, go up to your sink and turn the cold water on and make sure there's no cold water coming out. That's how you know you've shut off the cold water. Once you've done that, put a towel under this fitting, use your wrench, and unscrew this. You are not going to be unscrewing anything from this end, only from this end. Okay? Once that's unscrewed, you're going to be able to put the water diverter on, just like this. You don't need to tighten this super tight because there's a rubber gasket in there. So just make it hand tight. And then reconnect your upper hose right to this line. Okay? You'll also notice there's a shutoff valve here. At this time, I want you to go ahead and turn this shutoff valve off. Okay, so it'll be facing upward. That'll be off. Even when it's on, you can move this to different directions depending where your tube is going to be. Okay? Once this is connected and this is off, make sure you cinch these down, and you could go ahead and turn your water back on. Check for leaks. Make sure every connection down here is dry and you don't feel any water on the bottom. Now, something cool about this fitting, this happens to be a 1/2-inch shutoff valve, but most of us are going to have a 3/8 shutoff valve, which is smaller than this. And the cool thing about this fitting is it allows you to switch off. So let's say you have the 3/8, the smaller one. You're going to take this nut off the end, and now you see you're left with the 3/8 thread. And on the bottom, see there's a gasket in there. So you don't need, even though we have Teflon tape, you don't need to wrap everything. You're going to screw this into the bottom, make it nice and hand tight, and now you have a 3/8 connection on the bottom. All right? There's a clip pre-installed on here. You're going to go ahead and remove that. And again, we're doing this on the countertop, but you'll be doing this under the sink. If you've never worked with quick connect fittings before, the way they work is you press the tube in till it won't go in anymore, and that's it. Pull out slightly, and we can install this safety clip, which will prevent the tube from ever coming out. If you ever need to remove this, you're going to pull the clip off, get your tool, hold it down. While holding it down, you'll pull the tube out. Okay? So now we're under the sink. We have our water supply connected. And where's this, the other end of this hose is going to go? It's going to go right here. Now, if this tube is way too long, use your razor blade or your scissor and cut the tube. Now, let me show you an example of cutting this tube if you've never done it. if you use a scissor, make sure the scissor's sharp, okay? You'll notice how this flattened out, and it has a little burr on the end. So you need to get it nice and round and have your razor knife and trim that little burr off to make sure it's nice and round, okay? If you have a leak here, it's because you still have a burr and you didn't round this out. So we'll plug this in here, push it in as far as it'll go, and we'll install our safety clip. Make sure the safety clip is completely around the collar. There you go. All right. So now the water supply is sent over to the unit. The second step that we're going to do is we're going to install our drain saddle. Now, this is a very simple job. Remember that black foam piece? I just popped out this circular insert, just pop it out, peel off the back paper, and the sticker will hold it right there. It does not go on this side, it goes on this side. Okay? The other thing you're going to do is you're going to take this collar and you're going to pop it out. Just use your fingernail and pop it out. Now, this is the only thing that you have to put a little thought into, and why we're going to actually go under the sink right now. Yeah. So, as you'll see under here, I've already got mine installed. You don't want to install it at low parts like this, and definitely not at a low part like this. You want to install it as high as you can so there's no standing water that's going to hit this hose. So this worked out perfectly, and we've got it installed there. Let's go back up. Okay. So the way this is going to work is, I like to start off like this. Put a screw in there, put one nut on the end, leave it out, put it around your pipe down there, okay, and put your other screw on and the nut. Get your screwdriver and run it down tight on both sides. Make sure it's nice and snug. If you could move it back and forth, it's not tight enough. You keep tightening until it won't budge. Then you're going to get your drill, and you're going to go right in there. You're going to drill out until you feel it go through the pipe. And once it's through the pipe, you want to pull it in and out to make sure there's no shards of plastic in the way of the flow. Okay? Once that's done, take your clip and insert it back in. Don't force it if it's not going. Just squeeze it. Okay? Now we can insert one end of our drain line into this piece, and guess where the other end's going? Right there. Now, just for time reasons, I'm not going to put all the clips on there, but this is what your blue clips are. The smaller ones are for here. The larger ones are for the larger tube. this third tube, we're going to connect into the filtered line. Now what's coming out of this blue line is the finished product. This is your clean water. This is what's going to feed your ionizer. So the other end of this is going to go into your ionizer. Now, we have a Vesta here on the countertop, and I want to show you the way I did this, because some people will say, well, I have the countertop unit. How am I going to get the water from that blue tube up to the ionizer? Well, one neat thing I did was I got a hole cover. You could get them on Amazon. You could get them at Home Depot. They're just a standard hole cover. You could get them in a finish to match your faucet, or you could get them in black and different colors. But basically, I took that same 1/4-inch drill bit. I drilled a hole in the center of this, and the tube going down is basically that blue tube that's going into the back of the RO. Then this fitting, and this is something I also picked up at Home Depot, not knowing if you're going to do it this way or not, but this is one of the many different ways you could get this installed. If you don't have a hole in your countertop and you have a dishwasher pop up, I mean, there's so many scenarios that we can help you with that we're not going to be able to cover on this video. And if that's the case, and you need a little extra help, you can always contact us and we'll walk you through a unique installation that you have. Okay? All right. And then on the bottom, there is the inlet, which is, this is where this is going. And then you have your drain line. If you have the Delphi, the undersink model, it's going to be even easier because you're going to mount the faucet in the sink. And then this unit will be under the sink and the connection will be exactly the same. Okay, so now we've got everything connected here. We've got our power plug in now. You're going to need to make sure you've got an outlet with full-time power. You might have a situation where the outlet under your sink is only controlled by a switch, which controls your garbage disposal. If that's the case, you may need to pull your dishwasher out and run the plug through a hole in the side of the cabinet to plug in there, or have an electrician come by and give you a full hot outlet so you can do this. All right. So now we are ready to go. This thing is installed. Okay, so here we are with part 3, final setup, and we've got our RO installed. We've got all the lines hooked up. You could see the 3 lights on the front showing that we've got it plugged in. And remember our valve down here? That's up. Now's the time to open it. Okay, so we've already done that underneath. So we have full water pressure going to the unit. Our Vesta is closed, so there's no water coming out here yet. But before we open the Vesta, we don't want to open this yet. There's a button all the way to the left here that says flush. I'm going to hold that until those lights start flashing. And what that's doing is that's flushing out the membrane that came pre-packed with a preservative to keep it nice and moist. So we'll see those lights flashing. And once those lights stop flashing, I'm going to go ahead and hit the flush again. And I'm going to repeat that process 3 times. Okay, so I'm going to do it again. By the way, every time you change your filters once a year, this is exactly what you're going to do. You're going to install the new filters, you're going to turn the water pressure back on, and you're going to touch and hold that flush button. Do it 3 times to rinse out the new membrane. You'll also take a look at this time to make sure you don't see any leaks or water dripping anywhere. Okay, so let's do our final flush. And while that's doing the final flush, here's the last thing we're going to install. And this is really cool because it's got magnets on it. So all you have to do is just put it into place. And when it's time to change the filters, it's got a little divot up here. Just pull it right off and you're ready to go. Okay, now, whether you have the undersink Delphi or you have the countertop models, one of the countertop models, your unit is going to ship with an empty filter. If you look at the label here, it's going to say empty filter. Okay? On the left, your unit will ship with a carbon filter. Right now, mine has 2 empty filters in it. But when we start shipping these, you're going to have an empty filter and a carbon filter, which will be the final polishing stage that the water will go through. If you have an empty filter, we might supply you with one of these clips. Okay, normally the filter will plug in here. But if you see these in the package that we've sent you, you will plug it in just like that. That'll make sure the filter counter will operate properly. Okay, that's it. We've checked for leaks. We're fully installed. Now we're going to fire it up, and I'm going to put it on the filtered setting.
Alkaline. Filtered water selected.
This is totally normal. And the filters are filling and flushing for the first time. One thing cool that you'll notice is, look at my flow rate. It's pegged all the way. There's never been a reverse osmosis that we've tested over the last 2 decades that could ever supply water at that flow. So I'm going to let this rinse for a good minute, no more than 3 minutes, between a minute and 3 minutes. You'll notice that your 3 lights are on here. This is normal. When you scan your QR code and you get into the owner's manual, it will show you troubleshooting. If one light is blinking or one of the lights doesn't come on, it'll show you what that means. All right, so it's been about a minute, and I'm going to taste this final product. That's as good as it gets, folks. Guess what I have here? Some pH drops. Oh, let's go to alkaline 3.
Alkaline level 3 selected.
Matter of fact, let me use this glass here. Just put 1 or 2. We don't ship pH drops with the RO. They came with your ionizers, so you should already have these. And look at that. Boy, that's what we want. Beautiful purple alkaline water. And that's it, folks. You're all set. You could put a sticker on the front, maybe a piece of tape. Write the date of the filter change. Those filters are good for 12 months. If you have super heavy usage, you could get a little bit less than 12 months out of it. How do you know if the filters are still fine? It's a good idea to do a pH test around the 10th or 11th, 12th month, especially if you have a big family and you use a lot of water. The testing that we've done shows high life on the filtration, so you can do some pretty heavy usage throughout the year. You're going to enjoy this. The last thing I want to show you is there's 3 fittings that we did not use. These are fittings that they included in case you need to change the size of tubing in one of your runs back there from a 3/8 to a 1/4 inch. 99% of you will never need to do that. Same with this. This is a fitting for if there's an odd size and this does not fit, you'd screw this on to your piece here and get the water up. But again, 99.9% of you will never use this. You will have a couple blue clips left over. Make sure you put this in a safe place. I did not need to use any zip locks because it's pushed back and the hoses are all out of the way. That's it.